Crash on a hostile world. No one ever expected the peace talks to end in fire. The diplomatic shuttle bucked and screamed as it tumbled through the alien planet's dense violet sky, torn apart by unseen weapons. Inside, Charles Reeves fought too, remaining conscious as alarms blared and metal twisted. Flames licked at the control consoles. Around him, the alien and human delegates shouted for help, for mercy, for their gods. Only Charles and Valeria survived the crash. He clawed his way from the tangled wreck, every bone in his body aching, blood slicking his brow. The air smelled of burning fuel, electricity, and something wild, an earthy, acidic tang that made his throat close. A field of black rock stretched into the distance, sharp as knives, under a sky rippling with 3 alien moons. Charles staggered. Upright, surveying the carnage, a movement in the smoke. A tall figure, blue-skinned, armored in gold and white, stepped from the debris. Valeria of the Crimson Dawn, legendary warrior of her people. Her white hair clung to her face. Her red eyes glowed with fury and suspicion. She drew her sword and advanced. Charles raised empty hands, struggling to summon the words that had diffused 100 tense negotiations. "We both survived," he managed. "Let's not waste it." Valeria's eyes narrowed. "I should end you. Your kind killed my brother." Charles swallowed, finding courage. "Your people destroyed my city. But right now, this planet is a bigger enemy than either of us." Her blade hovered near his throat. Then, with a warrior's logic, she pulled it away. "We fight together. One night." Let me see. A distant howl echoed through the rocks, sending chills through both of them. The two began to salvage what they could. Pieces of hull plating, shattered supplies, a medkit, a knife. The sun dipped low, casting shadows that crawled across the stones. Together they fortified a small camp within a ring of boulders. Charles fashioned spears from scrap metal. Valeria scouted the perimeter, always silent, always wary. Night brought the true danger. Shapes moved in the darkness, low to the ground hunters with pale eyes and too many legs. When the first Voidstalker leapt at them, Charles drove it back, with a burning branch while Valeria's sword flashed silver in the firelight. Again and again, the creatures came, testing their defenses, hunting for weakness side by side. Human and alien fought until dawn broke and the beasts retreated, leaving steaming black blood in the dust. Exhausted but alive, Charles and Valeria shared a silent look of respect at the first step toward something more had been taken. Journey through the unknown. With the dawn came new dangers. The beacon that might call for rescue blinked somewhere beyond a wall of dense, shifting jungle 15 kilometers away. According to Charles's battered datapad, Valeria scouted the path, sword in hand. Charles followed, mind racing through possibilities. The jungle was a world of color and danger. Enormous trees dripped with glowing vines. The air thick with spores and insect clouds that hummed in unison. Every step was a risk. They learned quickly to trust each other's skills. When a vine lashed at Charles's leg, Valeria severed it in a single stroke. When the ground turned to quicksand, Charles found a safe route using a broken piece of hull to test each step. At night, they took turns on watch, each drifting to sleep with the other's presence an odd comfort dot as they traveled. Stories slipped out first in careful sentences, then in raw confessions. Charles told of his lost brother, a casualty of the first skirmishes, and of his own struggle to believe peace was even possible. Valeria spoke of her warrior clan, her sister Thyra, who still believed in glory, and the weight of all her peoples. Hopes on her shoulders. Danger sharpened their connection. A predator, huge-scaled, with a mouthful of bone-white fangs, ambushed them near a river. Charles used flares from the emergency kit to blind the creature, while Valeria's blade struck true. They killed it together, hearts pounding, laughter, mingling with fear in the aftermath. That night, by the dim light of bioluminescent plants, Charles handed Valeria a piece of fruit, torn from a high branch she'd climbed for her. She broke it in half, sharing it back. They were still enemies by birth, but each day brought something new. A shared meal, a private smile, a hand offered in help instead of hostility. In the heart of the wild, they learned the first lessons of trust, ambushed by the past as they neared the beacon, hope rising with every kilometer. The past caught up. The jungle opened onto a field of ancient ruins, massive stone pillars carved with alien symbols, half swallowed by roots and moss. Charles and Valera moved carefully, eyes alert for traps. Without warning, arrows hissed through the air. Valera spun, her sword flashing, deflecting one, but another found her shoulder, spinning her to the ground. Charles dove for cover, heart racing. A dozen warriors emerged, faces painted, weapons drawn, the broken spear clan. Valera's rivals, sworn enemies of peace. Their leader, Calrex, sneered. So the Crimson Dawn consorts with a human? Is this how far you've fallen, Valera? She forced herself upright, blade at the ready, blood dripping from her arm. We seek survival, not your approval. Charles scanned the ruins, mind racing. He spotted an old defensive device, some kind of energy snare. He shouted to Valera, "Draw them toward me." She fainted, drawing her pursuers close. Charles triggered the ancient trap. Lightning arced, stunning half the clan and scattering. The rest, the two fled deeper into the ruins. In a dark chamber, Valera pressed her back against the wall, clutching her wound. Charles tore his shirt, fashioning a bandage. "Don't faint on me now," he muttered. She smiled through pain. "I will not die in a ruin, not with you beside." Emmy. As they caught their breath, Charles rested his hand on hers, grounding them both. In the darkness, they talked of dreams and failures, Valera's longing to break the cycle of war, Charles's belief in second chances. Calrex's warriors regrouped outside, but Charles and Valera, wounded and desperate, worked as one outwitting, outlasting, outfighting their pursuers. By the time dawn broke, the broken spear had fallen back, defeated by a human's cleverness and a warrior's resolve. In those ruins, something changed forever between Charles and Valera. Enemy became ally, and ally became more. The price of brotherhood. Their escape from the ruins was a trial of endurance. Valera, weakened by her wound, leaned heavily on Charles as they pushed on through the jungle. Every step was a test of their will. The planet itself seemed determined to finish what the crash and the broken spear had started. Acidic rain hammered, the ground turning paths to rivers. Predators watched from the shadows, emboldened by the smell of blood. Charles refused to leave Valera behind. He improvised a sling for her arm, fashioned a splint for a twisted ankle, and carried her over. Swollen streams. He recited human poems to distract her from the pain. She answered with tales of her people's heroes. Near collapse, they stumbled into the territory of the world's apex predator, a massive beast covered in chitinous plates, eyes like burning coals. It stalked them, silent and relentless. Charles set a trap using salvage from the shuttle and Valera's plasma grenades, baiting the beast with their last rations. As it charged, Valera stood her ground, sword ready. Charles triggered the trap. The explosion wounded the monster, giving Valera the chance to strike a killing blow. But victory came at a price. The beast's final thrash caught Valera, sending her crashing into a tree. Charles reached her side, heart in his throat. "Go," she gasped. "Save yourself." "Not a chance," Charles answered. Lifting her in his arms, he carried her the last kilometer to the beacon, pushing himself past exhaustion, past fear. Driven by a loyalty he'd never known before. As the signal flared to life, Charles whispered, "You're not alone. Not anymore." For the first time, Valera believed him. Rescue and a new future. The beacon's signal blazed against the morning sky, a final plea for rescue. As Charles and Valera waited, barely able to move, the predators closed in, drawn by the scent of blood. They made their last stand back to back, weapons ready, daring the world to take them. Charles's mind raced, devising new tricks with every heartbeat. Valera's sword flashed in the sunlight, her strength renewed by sheer will. At the last moment, a dropship roared overhead. Human and alien soldiers poured from the hatch, fighting. Through the creatures to reach the pair. The rescue team found Charles shielding Valera, both bloodied but unbroken. The sight was broadcast across both worlds' enemies. Risking everything for each other, their survival became a symbol. If a human diplomat and an alien warrior could stand together on the edge of oblivion, so could their people dot as they healed. In a shared medical bay, Charles and Valera received a message from their respective leaders. The peace talks would resume. Inspired by their example, Charles smiled at Valera, squeezing her hand. Brothers in arms, he said. Valera returned the gesture, a rare smile breaking across her fierce features. And something more. Together, they stepped out into the alien sun, forever changed, their story a spark of hope in a war-torn galaxy.